Hello, everybody. I am Developer Relations Engineer David Jones-Gilardi, and today we're going to do something super cool with ElevenLabs' new conversational AI and Langflow's MCP support. We're going to put those two things together. So, a little anecdote. When I first started doing, building AI applications, ElevenLabs is actually one of the first services I used a couple years ago now, and it was for a language translation app, and I thought it was super cool, some of the things you could do. And a lot has happened since then. And the same thing with Langflow in far as its agentic capabilities and MCP. And it turns out the new conversational AI from ElevenLabs also has support for MCP. And it means that you can marry these two together really, really easily. And we can really enhance the capabilities of both. So let's go ahead and take a look. So in this particular site, what we're going to do is we're going to create a news agent that is using the site smol.ai. So if you're not familiar with smol.ai and you want to keep up on the latest AI news, this is a really awesome site to check out. It aggregates from a bunch of different sources and kind of keeps you on top of what's happening. So we're going to build a voice AI agent that is using the information here from smol.ai. All right, so why don't we go ahead and take a look. Now, on the left-hand side, I have Langflow, and I've created a simple agent. I'll look at some details there in a moment. And on the right-hand side is my ElevenLabs account. Okay, so you'll notice that when I'm in the base of my ElevenLabs account, there is this new product, Conversational AI. That's where you want to go, right? Now, I have a set of agents that I've already created that I've been working with. We're going to create one brand new. So I'm just going to go to agents here, and I've got a news agent. I've run through this, but we're going to create this one completely from scratch. Now, before we do that, I want to look back over at the left-hand side. Why? Because this is our Langflow flow that is our smol AI agent. Now, one thing to just point out, if I were to back out of this, and if I just said new flow and I said simple agent, what we're doing here is really just the simple agent with a little bit extra, really just kind of like system prompt kind of stuff. So you notice that we have our agent, we're using GPT-4.1, I have a URL tool, a calculator tool, an input and an output, right? So if I back out and I go into this smol AI agent that I created earlier, it's the same thing. I have my agent, it's GPT-4.1, I have my input and my output, and the same URL component here, the same URL tool. All I've done actually, the reason why it looks a little different is I've just turned a bunch of stuff off to kind of make it a little more compact. The biggest change here is that I have added custom instructions to optimize for being a voice agent. And the reason why, right? Because if you think about it, a lot of the agents, they can be a little chatty. Let's say I want to respond with a list of items. I want to get like the top AI models today or whatever it is. Well, agents without extra instructions, that like a model like GPT-4.1 will have a tendency to list like all of them, right? And it's going to give you details for everything. And it means my voice agent is going to be sitting here for 20 minutes reading me this big long thing. So I need to optimize my prompt to work better for that particular use case. So you'll notice that, if I scroll down here, I have some special instructions and certain things, like if it asks for a list, well, I have it, give me the top 5. Just give me the actual name of the thing. Ask if they want more description, things like that. When talking about models, a lot of times you'll have models that have many B or billion parameters. Well, by default, if the voice model sees that, or the voice agent sees that it's like 20B or 1B, it'll have a tendency to say 20B or 1B. I thought from a voice agent, it would make more sense if it actually said billion, right? So you see like little tiny instructions like this, little kind of modifications to optimize for this particular experience. Now, if we take a look at the playground, so for any particular flow that you have in Langflow, you can always go to the playground and test it out. So if I say, the latest AI news, right? What it's going to do is, because this is the instruction I've given it, it's going to fetch content here. You'll see it in a second. Boom. And you can see, okay, here's the latest AI news as of June 30th, right? So that's, the date now. It says Meta has hired top AI talent from OpenAI. So let's go ahead and check the site, right? And if I go to AI News, June 30th, and look, one of the first things there, Meta has poached top AI talent from OpenAI, right? So you can see that it is in fact grabbing the information directly from smol.ai. Now, one last thing I want to point out is that you'll see I have this text input over here. And what I did, I didn't have to do this, but I kind of set this up. Even though this agent is using smol.ai now, it doesn't mean that I couldn't expand it in the future. So you'll see in the prompt itself, you'll see how I have these like AI news sites in curly braces. And if anything I encapsulate in curly braces inside of Langflow will become a prompt variable. And so I can just wire these up. So then if I came in here and I put in some other news site, whatever, then that would automatically be injected into my prompt and I can make it more dynamic. This also means if I really wanted to, I could control this from my application, right? So when I've hooked this up to my application runtime, I could dynamically change those inputs if I really wanted to. Okay, great. So now the last part here is I did mention this MCP connection. So any flow in Langflow can be exposed as an MCP server. Let's take a look at that because I have this working agent. I now want to get this exposed to the voice agent. So I'm going to come back out of here. You'll see this little tab for MCP server. And let's go ahead and just open that up a little bit. And now you can see that I have my small AI agent, but I have this endpoint. So we're going to make use of this endpoint in that key. I'm going to clean up that other agent. I don't need this now. Great. Okay. So now I've got this small AI agent. All right. So we're going to come back over to ElevenLabs now on the right. All right. So I said we were going to create a new agent. Just make a blank agent. I'll call this my small. Oh, there it is. Agent. Okay. I'm going to create the agent. Now, ElevenLabs, I got to admit, they've done a really nice job here. I'm actually quite impressed with how easy it was to get going with this. I've been able to whip up voice agents and hook them right up to my Langflow flows, like no problem at all. And the voice mode's really nice. And there's a lot of really cool features in here. The first thing I'm going to worry about for this particular use case is just this first message. Saying, hi, how can I help you today isn't really that useful for my news agent. I might say something like, hello, what AI news would you like to hear about, right? Right, and so that's the first thing that the AI agent, the voice agent, is going to say when it starts talking with me. Now, this next part of the system prompt, this is actually something I am super impressed with the way that ElevenLabs has done this. I can literally just describe what you are. So you are an AI news agent that uses Langflow MCP to serve up the latest AI news, right? Now notice there, I'm not giving it details about the sites or anything because what happens if I wanted to change that later? But that doesn't really matter. So look what it did. It generated this really nice system prompt, very clean and stuff like that. You can see, it breaks it down, gives it guardrails, all sorts of things, right? And then let's see, they have access to Langflow MCP, which allows you to, okay, so, it kind of made this part up a little bit. That's okay, we'll get there. Now I have this basic prompt. I have my first message, but I haven't quite hooked up just yet, right? By the way, so off the bat, it does default to Gemini 2.0 Flash, which is a fine model. I like 2.5 Flash better. It is a little bit more expensive. Notice here the difference in cost, right? So something to keep in mind when you are doing things. So again, it works just fine this way, but I do like the 2.5, so I'm just going to choose that for this case. I'm not worried about these other settings for now, but what I really want to get to, and I'm going to just save here, might as well, is this custom MCP server. So this is the part that I think is really slick. Now, I've already created one of these before, but let's go ahead and do it new just so we can see this process. So we're going to say new small agent. All right, let's not move the screen again. Okay, and AI news agent that uses Langflow MCP. Okay, all right, so SSE. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I want to copy this endpoint, right? So I'm just going to literally paste that right in here. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is that I am using a secure version of Langflow, and this is actually super important. You could leave it in the open, but if you do that, you are potentially opening yourself up to somebody literally walking into your AI agents and doing things with them. So I have a secure version of one. And so what I'm going to do is I need to generate an API key, and I get this API key here. And here, right in 11 Labs, all I need to do is you'll see this HTTP headers. I'm going to add a header, and I'm just literally going to pull this right out of here. I'm going to say I want the x-api-key, put the name, and I'm going to grab my key name or my value. Okay, I'm going to pop that in there. And lastly here, in my particular case, I don't want it to have to approve every single time while it's having a conversation. So I'm going to say no approval. I trust the server, and then I'll add it. Now, once it does this, it's actually going to go ahead and it's going to validate it, right? You can see this thing right here. You can see it is testing. So it takes it a moment because it's now going to communicate with Langflow MCP. It's going to find out what tools are available and everything like that. Eventually this will turn green, right? And then once that turns green, it is good to go. But for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and pop back and go to our small agent, the one I just created. Okay, great. So you'll see now down here, I'm now going to add our new small agent. It's green. Great. I'm going to save. Now this is key. Because I am authenticating, right? Notice as integrations are not supported when agent authentication is disabled. So what I need to do, I'm going to come up here to security. I'm going to enable authentication. This is a key piece of information because later on this is really going to matter. Okay. Okay, great. So I've now enabled authentication. I have my agent. It is hooked up to my new small agent. Great. So that means it should be talking to my flow here. Okay. And why don't we test this out? Let's see how it does.
Hello, what AI news would you like to hear about?
Give me the latest AI news as of today.
Here are the latest generative AI news highlights as of June 30, 2024. Meta has hired top AI talent from OpenAI, aiming to advance generative AI.
Okay, so I think you get the idea. You can see here that it just made this request, it talked to the agent, and now it's going to read this kind of stuff off, right? And now I can have a conversation with it about the types of news that you would find at small.ai. And the agent itself is actually, you can pick all sorts of different voices and everything. You're not limited to the one. If you actually come to voice here, you can choose different voices. So it makes it so you can get this really kind of nice back and forth. Let's go ahead and maybe ask a couple other questions.
Hello, what AI news would you like to hear about?
What are the top generative AI models, in the last month?
The top generative AI models in the last month, as of June 30th, 2024, are Gemini 2.5 Pro, Claude 4, Opus Sonnet, DeepSeek R1-0528, Minimax M1, and Qwen 3-235B. This information is from June 30th, 2024, and the source is news.small.ai.
So notice that in this particular case, it just gave me the individual model names instead of giving me long descriptions with them. Why? Because we modified our system prompt to optimize for a voice interaction, right? So anyway, okay, great. So now we have this working conversational AI agent that is talking to our Langflow flow. And we can see that when we make queries for the voice agent, it is now calling back to Langflow. So now we need to take this to the next step. Now that we've got this setup in place, why don't we hook up an application and see how we would bring this into our application? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I went back to agents here in ElevenLabs, and you'll see that if I'm at the agents listing, or if by the way, if I even came to home of this, you'll find that I can get to the agents. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but I'm going to go to agents here. And then there's a little ellipsis over on the right-hand side. I'm going to click that and go to their SDK docs. Now, I've got that up already. It will bring you here to their overview, right? Now, me personally, I don't know about you, but when I'm coding with a new thing, I'll read the overview. It's actually, useful information, but I'm probably going to hit that quick start. And I'm particularly interested in working with their SDK. So ElevenLabs has an SDK that you can use with your apps. So after reading this, by the way, it was very useful information. I suggest you read it. I'm going to come down to the bottom, and there's this integration quick start here. Let's click on this. And the fun part here is we're literally going to follow this. I'm going to do it right now, and we are going to build this thing from scratch. So let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, great. So I have my trusty Warp terminal on the right-hand side. I have the the implementation guide on the left from ElevenLabs. So I'm going to, build a very basic Next.js app, and it says, hey, I need what you'll need. Well, we already created our ElevenLabs agent. I've got npm and all that, and we're going to use TypeScript. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to follow this. I'm literally going to follow it down. I'm going to come in here. Let's create this. It'll take just a moment. Now I'm going to follow the defaults. So I'm just going to bloop, 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 bloop. Okay. You do what you want with your own app. I'm following the defaults that are there. These are fine. Okay, should only take a moment. There it goes. Great. Now we are going to change over to the directory. We can see that I have things that I would expect there. And then let's go ahead and install the ElevenLabs packages. Okay, great. And then finally, we're going to say npm run dev. And we should see, I'm just going to move this over here. Yeah, we should see a site just like we see it, just a basic Next.js app. Great. And that's exactly what we see here on the left. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to create some components and a page and everything like that. So why don't we go ahead and pull up our friend cursor. Okay. And say new window. And bring it over here. And we're going to open a project. We just did my conversational agent. We're going to open that up. Okay, great. So we have our app. And what do we need to do? Well, first thing here is we're going to create conversation.tsx and our app components. So if I go to app, I don't have the component yet. Let's go ahead and create that. Components. And then we are going to create a file, call it conversation.tsx. Great. And I'm literally going to copy this code over. This is actually something that, again, I feel like they've done a pretty nice job of. When I did it the first time as well, I thought it was pretty darn easy to follow. So it made it pretty straightforward to literally get going and hook it up into my app. Next thing I need to do is modify. We're going to go ahead and update the app page.tsx. So I'm going to grab this, and it's telling me to just copy the whole, replace the whole thing. So we're just going to go boop like this, right? And now if I come back over to my site, we can see that I have this conversational AI page. Now, if I start the conversation, it's not going to work. Why? Because in our particular case, if you remember, I said something important earlier, which was we need to ensure, since we have a secure private agent, remember I authenticated it, right? Notice this right here, optional, authenticate the agents with a signed URL. That's exactly what we need to do, right? So I'm going to open that up, right? So we've got the base site, but now it needs that authentication layer in order for this to work properly. So let's see. So I need a .env local. That makes sense. Okay. And we're going to grab these guys, pop them in. Now, if I go back to the ElevenLabs interface, I get that agent ID. Where do I get that from? So let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, I made it really small. There we go. So if I go to my small agent, if I click on that same ellipsis, copy agent ID, go back into my code and put this here. Great. Okay. And then I do need my ElevenLabs key. Paste that in, right? So looks wonderful. Okay, great. Go back to where we were, back to my agents, and set this up. Okay. Okay, great. So now I have these two things in my env.local. I like to put that over there. And now I need to create another new file. So it's telling me I need app API get signed URL. So app, we're going to go back to app. Okay. All right. This part is really important because you do need to ensure that you're protecting your keys and then they're not accidentally exposed out to somebody through your web app or whatever. We're going to create a route that is then going to implement the security portion of the layer, right? So I'm going to grab the code from here. And again, for those, if you're following along with this, I'm literally grabbing the stuff right from the ElevenLabs docs. I'm not doing anything else special. Now notice that in our route, we are referencing process.env ElevenLabs API key. Also up here, process.env next public agent ID. And those match ElevenLabs API key and next public agent ID. So those match exactly the two things that we put in our .env.local, right? So this means I do not need to hardcode or expose my keys. Super important at all. Okay, great. We have a route, but now we need to update our conversational component to use that new route, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is they give you a little piece of code here, and we have the setup here for our conversation. We're going to pop that right there. Okay, so we have our new get signed URL, but we're not using it just yet. So what I need to do is notice originally we didn't pass in the ID or anything, but if you use the base thing, you would just kind of put that ID there, but we're not doing that. We're going to protect our IDs in our app. So I'm going to grab this code here. I'm going to look this, Navigator media devices. They want me to put it there. And then here inside of conversation.start session, I'm just going to pass the sign URL because I am setting that right there. So I'm going to go like this. Boom. Okay. Oh, don't forget my comma. All right, that should be it. So let's see if this worked. If we now come over here, let's see what happens.
Hello, what AI news would you like to hear about?
What's the latest AI news as of today?
I can certainly help you with that. To give you the most relevant information, could you please tell me what specific areas of AI news you are interested in? For example, are you looking for news on machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, or something else?
No, just the general news.
Here are the latest general AI news highlights as of June 30th, 2024. Meta has hired top AI talent from OpenAI, including Alexander Wang as Chief AI Officer, aiming for
Okay, great. So notice that I asked the same query as before. I got the same answer, right? And I did that on purpose because I wanted to ensure that we were seeing that we were getting the same kind of results. So now I have a very basic website, but notice how easy it was to actually integrate this directly into my site. So I think pretty darn cool that we can have this kind of capability very quickly and very easily within our existing apps or a new app. And with that, everybody, I hope as usual, that this was something useful for you. I have actually found I've had a lot of fun building things with the new conversational AI in ElevenLabs. The range of voices that you have there is actually pretty slick. You have a lot of control over the models, the security, how you can tweak things. And it's been a really great experience. The docs are very good. And again, it ties into Langflow so easily that I can now do very complex things in Langflow and expose those to the voice agent in ElevenLabs, and now you have the best of both worlds. With that, everybody, take care. Happy coding. See you later.